Hey there, this is your pal Pally, and welcome to the Getter Raid Guide to the heroic Oregorger encounter in Blackrock Foundry. This guy is full of ore and ready to spew it upon you at will. This is a two-phase encounter where the boss drains ore power, then gets it back rolling around eating ore. You might say he gorges himself on that ore. Let's go over the first phase and its major mechanics. The biggest one to watch out for is Acid Torrent. Melee will be avoiding explosive shards, you'll be interrupting Blackrock Barrage, and ranged will be moving for Wretched Blackrock. So, Acid Torrent. This is the way that it works. It will target a ranged member of your group, and then the person closest to the boss and in the way of the spray of the Acid Torrent will take some physical damage, and the ranged group will take nature damage reduced by that person taking less damage from the physical portion. Kinda confusing, I know, but basically it means your tank needs to be in the way of the spray of the Acid Torrent and try to reduce the damage that they take. Obviously you can use external cooldowns or regular tank cooldowns, but just to know that the goal of this is the tank to take it and reduce its damage, thus saving your ranged group. It should also be noted that the tank, after taking one of these, will get a debuff on them that makes them take more damage from further Acid Torrents, so this causes a tank swap. Explosive shards are pretty easy to deal with. They will pop up, and if they go off while you are near them, you will get stunned. Basically, melee needs to get the heck out of the way of them and not get stunned. Blackrock Barrage is also pretty easy. The boss will gain stacks of this, and then will try to cast it over and over and over again. It needs interrupted, but it might be held off by other abilities. So you may have to get an Acid Torrent, and then it'll go back to trying to cast off his stacks of Blackrock Barrage. Just be on your mark and be ready to interrupt. Lastly, Wretched Blackrock is what forces your ranged group to move. It will target any ranged or healer, and will leave a puddle of crap underneath them. You just basically need to move out of this puddle as soon as possible. It is even possible to move before it hits the ground, so just watch for the cast and start moving. So let's talk about the strategy for Phase 1. You can tank him in a long corridor like the one he starts in. Put a ranged pile in the far back, melee of course is behind the boss, and the tank will be in front of the boss with the boss pointed towards that ranged pile. This will allow you to have the main tank who is tanking the boss take the Acid Torrent, and the off tank should be by the melee pile and not taking the Acid Torrent. I've seen additional strategies that have the off tank take the acid by spinning the main tank a little bit towards the corridor, sort of facing him down the other way, and then having the off tank in between the ranged pile and the boss. Obviously this still requires a tank swap, so it's probably 6 of one, half a dozen of another, but whatever you can do, go for it. Beyond that, obviously the melee needs to move for shards, you need to have an interrupt rotation for Blackrock Barrage, and the range stack near the back need to sort of move in a snake-like pattern for the Wretched Blackrock. Whatever pattern you move in, just make sure everyone knows where they're going and that the ranged stay stacked up. For Phase 2, the boss stops all of his abilities and starts rolling around this maze-like room. You need to avoid getting run over. That is the basic goal of this phase. There are no safe spots, but the corners are generally safe. We had some raid markers up with someone watching the boss calling out, "Green is safe, blue might not be," etc., etc. Behind him is generally safe. Now the goal, of course, is survival, but you also need to be DPSing these crates down for him to eat the ore that is inside them. And also, every time he rolls into the wall, he damages the whole raid. So, in general, if you can, stack up to safely heal up as the damage increases in this phase. The phase will end when he gains 10 ore. As you transition out of Phase 2, my basic recommendation here is going to be to leave him where he ends up, and pick a corridor for the range to stack down, and rinse repeat Phase 1. From now on, and throughout this whole fight, it's all about survival. Just execute the mechanics, don't get run over, and you'll be good to go. So that's about it for this guide to Heroic Oregorger in Blackrock Foundry. Tanks, make sure you are taking Acid Torrent properly. Healers, watch out for the Acid Torrent damage and be ready as the damage in Phase 2 stacks up. And DPS, make sure you are not standing in shards or the wretched Blackrock. Thanks for watching, and as always, please comment, like, or subscribe to the video if you found it helpful, and have a good one!